This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Bleav.
For fans wanting more than just the score, Warhawk Report dives deeper into ULM athletics with expert analysis, recruiting updates, behind-the-scenes access, and real-time updates. Whether you are a diehard fan or just curious about the Warhawks, we've got you covered. Subscribe today at warhawkreport.com. Smart coverage, real insights, all Warhawks. warhawkreport.com.
Doesn't matter if you're an Indian or if you're a Warhawk.
The ULM mention is the greatest. You'd hope for the best as a ULM fan, but this is the Bleav in the Warhawks podcast
with hosts Dusty Thibodeaux and Chase Regian.
Chase, you always have such great insight.
Tibbs is going to bleep it all.
What are these guys always talking about?
We talk a lot about food on this podcast, and I'm going to continue to do so.
Really, really appreciative of the people and the community and the way that they've backed us up.
Nailed the introduction, by the way. Awesome.
Thanks,
I love
Fish.
it.
Chase, had time to let it simmer, to let it cook. Anything new that you have seen or heard out of that season opener 29-0 win over St. Francis?
I don't think so. I think if you watched all the post-game stuff with BV, he was pretty upset with certain aspects of the game. I was encouraged and disappointed by some other Sunbelt members in there. A lot of people seem to play great first halves and lose it there in the second half to a lot of these big teams, and I didn't watch any of real small games. But no, from the Warhawks, I don't think, I think you're still scared about what I said, and I stand by a lot of everything that I said there in the post game. That we still got some question marks that need to be hammered out.
I think the biggest takeaway I had is really no surprise, and it's something that we talked about in the post-game show, the drops. It was so frustrating, just the number and timeliness or untimeliness of the drops of the receivers, the running backs, the tight ends, everybody in between.
Yeah, it's concerning. I mean, and that's we can't. You shock everybody last year, Tibbs, with how great and efficient of a running game we had, and we obviously had a superstar running back. You're not going to do that 2 years in a row. It's not going to. You're no longer going to shock people. You're going to walk into places with having a whole year of film on you. If you're the same offense, you're going to enter in some real struggles.
But here's the deal: the only guy that really had significant film was Bam against St. Francis. So now, if you roll out any of the other 1,000 running backs that we have, it's like, okay, what's this guy going to be able to do? Maybe that's BV's secret is he's going to run the ball. They're all just different styles of running backs, and he has one per game.
Absolutely. And I thought Deshaun in the kind of the later few minutes showed he's got the break tackle ability. He's got kind of that bowling ball mentality. So, I mean, again, the competition with St. Francis was worse than what I thought they were going to be. And I think, Bam got hot early. And so, yeah, I don't know. I hope you're right. I don't think that, at the end of the day, it's still one-dimensional football, which isn't what we want to do.
A guy that's not one-dimensional, the guy that gets to throw you out of the window, out of the Bob Anderson press box and onto the field, the color but not the off-color commentary of Mike McGee joins us on Bleav in the Warhawks. Mike, welcome in.
Thank you, Dusty. Thank you, Chase. Good to join you all.
Yeah, Mike, I've been looking forward to this for a long time. I feel like I can only talk so much smack about you where you can't defend yourself, and now you're here, and now I hope I don't mess it up.
You probably will. You're good at that.
Thanks, Mike.
So Mike, what do you have to add there, knowing that, man, that was a late night. It was about a 2-hour delay for the Lightning, but it felt like it just threw everything pregame off.
Well, I mean, we did a lot of talking for 2 hours. I can assure you that. I mean, I don't know
lot
what
of
else
talk.
there. I don't know what else there was to say.
Great radio, Mike.
Yeah, it was scintillating. I wonder how 3 people that stayed in with us that might have listened to it. Listen, here's the way I've looked at that. Okay, I had expectations that this would be similar to like some of the scores we saw yesterday: 45-3, 62-7. I really had some great expectations that ULM would put that type of dominating performance on. And then when it didn't happen, I was really disappointed. Now, you said, Dusty, a little time to marinate, to cook, to think about it. So I thought more and more about it. The passing game was just completely off timing. I mean, you can call drops, but I still think, quite frankly, I think some of the timing from the quarterback play was a little off. That could have aided to it. Secondly, I think that you were not going to see a whole lot of offense rolled out for St. Francis. You saw some of the inside, just straight runs, a little bit of inside zone, a little bit of outside zone. There wasn't a whole lot of creativity. I know BV was upset. I think that he wanted more crispness with the offense. To me, it showed that the offense still, their timing is just not quite there. The defense, they play really well. I don't know how good you can really measure that because I didn't think St. Francis' offense had anything. I mean, they're bad compared to that competition. And I apologize to them for calling them that, but they were bad. I think you will see a little bit similar, and we'll talk about next week, but I think you'll see a little bit similar that the defense at this point is just a little bit ahead of where the offense is, and certainly where the offense is going to have to be if they want to have any type of hope of contending in the Sun Belt.
I think it was a big shock to everybody. And I think ULM really solidified themselves that the West is definitely wide open. When you look at Texas State, early struggles there against Eastern Michigan, Louisiana Lafayette falling at home in their brand new $60 million stadium to Rice. South Alabama with struggles with Morgan State. Troy struggles with Nichols. I mean, I think that we're definitely right where we need to be, but we've got to clean a lot of things up. And I don't know if Alabama is necessarily the opponent to try to do that and really improve your game, much less show what you're really capable of.
Well, if you're asking me, Dusty, I don't think that it is. And I don't think that was ever the plan. I've said all along that I think you'll know who this team is by the third game. I think that's week 4 for ULM when you start playing UTEP, which is like-minded competition. And then when you start vaulting into the Sun Belt. Next week, I mean, the thing is, Alabama's kind of a train wreck right now. They're about to jump off bridges and so forth because they were beaten pretty soundly Saturday by a team that they didn't feel like had any right to be on the field with them. They'll come out and try to straighten some things out on their own, on their offensive woes against ULM. I think ULM will play defensively as well as they can for as long as they can. Alabama has different talent and different depth of talent. The ULMs of the world cannot match them talent-wise, cannot match them with depth. Offensively, it's going to be a struggle. That's a really good defensive team. I know there were several things that Florida State did to Alabama yesterday that I don't think that ULM has the skill set to do. It's not a good matchup for ULM. You go play the game. You obviously play to win it. But what you have to hope is that Alabama continues to shoot themselves in the foot and somehow or another you're 5 minutes left to go in the game and you've got a chance.
Yeah, I think that, we saw some stars, and Mike, I listened to the whole game top to bottom. We saw some stars, and you guys talked about Perkins there on the defense, and I think guys like that can play on that field really well, and I think exactly what happened with ULM versus St. Francis with the depth. And I told Tibbs, Mike, after our game, I said, listen, ULM won this by a depth play because St. Francis had zero depth. They came out. First quarter was good for them because they were able to, really they moved the ball decently. They played good defense. I mean, you give up one big run and then we got Hunter Herring that can run something in. You're not going to run into that same thing against Bama. And Bama isn't what they used to be, sure. That's a little early to say that, but it doesn't feel that way right now.
They don't have Nick Saban to bail them out, right?
Right. And so I think, like you can't drop a single ball versus Alabama to have a shot. I mean, I agree that, we've said for months now that UTEP was really going to be the marker of who ULM is. And I'm interested to see if this is a team that plays up to their competition, down to their competition. I hope that's not true because that's not a consistent long-range winning football team. If that's true, I think you can give up more of a shot against Bama. But man, it does not look great right now.
Well, again, I go back to the defense. I think will play. I think the defense is very good, and defense travels. Chase, I mean, they're going to be able to play. They don't have the size, the speed, or the depth to stay on paper with an Alabama offense. The thing that does concern me, obviously, is the creativity from the offense. And again, this is not something you want to try to roll out and put a new offense in play to try to play in Alabama. This is not where you look at Florida State tape and say, yeah, we got to do that. I think you're going to do what you do. I was really surprised, and this is where my biggest disappointment is that for most of the game, except for the opening drive of the second half, and then one other drive that I can think of, a long drive, that the offense actually physically dominated the St. Francis defensive line. There was a lot of time. There was no penetration whatsoever by the offensive line. The quarterback was a little late in delivering balls. The receivers were dropping balls. Tight ends were dropping balls. That you can kind of chalk up to the first game, a little bit of timing. Offense is such a rhythm and a timing thing. But the fact that you were not physically able to move a defensive line on a team that you should be dominating, at least by our count, you should be dominating, that concerned me. And it really concerns me what the offensive line will be able to do against a superior defensive line. You're not going to be able to throw the ball deep against Alabama. You're going to have to try to take some shots in the middle of the field. But you're going to have to be able to run the ball to be able to do that. And if you can't run the ball, well, then it's going to be a really, really long day.
Mike, let me ask you real fast. I was surprised personally they came out passing the ball as much as they were in the first quarter. And obviously, again, that they got away from that and began to wear them down really with the run game. What was your thoughts? And I know we both don't like to ask about play calling, but maybe the question is, what would you change if you could go back and start that game and play calling? What would you change, and how do you kind of get away from the deep shots that we took, or the backwards screen pass are a little tough sometimes to catch, and that we saw Godsey drop a few. Where would you go with that offensive game plan?
Well, the first play of the game was to take the top off with Rico Powers against some true freshman DBs and a team that really didn't have a whole lot of experience. I didn't have a whole lot of problem with that one. But what I did have problem is I agree with you, Chase. I think the game plan was to throw, and because we thought we could just move the ball at will offensively, I think that's what the coaching mindset was. We can move the ball at will against this defense. We're just going to work on some things that we need to work on. In hindsight, probably should go back and say, hey, guys, you guys up front, we're going to dominate this line. We're going to take control of this game earlier. We're going to go down and score. And I know they scored, right? But it really – there was no continuity after that long run. I think that should have been, we're going to hitch up behind these guys. We're going to physically dominate this team, start wearing them down. And then I think maybe toward the end of the second quarter or the beginning of the second half, you can start trying to open up your offense a little bit more. And I think you saw that with Landon Graves coming in the last series, that he was able to throw. And it was against a team that was absolutely just worn down. But I think it took them coming out of the locker room to start the second half to figure out, hey, we probably should have been doing this in the first half.
Right. Just saying they really should have ran that ball, established that game, gone up 21, and then tried to open that offense up and see what you got there. But it felt like he was trying to make a point early that, hey, Aiden's good now and that we can do this, but it's a wet ball on a wet field, and you don't have your top, two receivers playing from what I hear. Maybe your top one playing. I think Godsey's probably number two. But it just felt like out of sync. Like I completely agree. It felt like Aiden didn't necessarily make any bad decisions. That one pick really wasn't his fault.
No, that was a bad call by the referees, because that was
yeah.
absolutely pass interference. The guy was draped all over him and stuck his hand as he's got another hand wrapped around it. Again, I go back. That was just, I thought the officials, it was their first game too, because it was a poorly officiated game. It was hard to watch.
Well, and Hammett on radio loves to talk about media timeouts, and they got his butt
crazy
with it, dude.
Yeah, driving
he
crazy.
goes on, about 10 minutes after the rain, he goes, "Nobody cares about this." I was thinking, yeah, Mike, just move on with life. We know nobody knows the logistics of a football game, of when to call a media timeout and all that.
Well, it did. It got on him at the end there, and they were confused. But anyhow, you're right. To the interception, it was not Aiden's fault. The ball was a tad bit underthrown. I don't know if it would have been completed, but it shouldn't have been picked up, unless you allow the guy to mug the receiver.
So there's already people that are wanting to hit the panic button because we didn't just absolutely manhandle, destroy St. Francis. And based on the offense not really able to move the ball as well as what they thought, the 2 block PATs. I mean, I know fans are fans and they're going to go crazy. Do either of y'all feel that it's time to kind of hit the panic button at all, or is it way too early?
Way too early, Dusty. Listen, at the end of the day, and I think maybe Hammett said this on the radio the other night, at the end of the day, you won by 29 points. Your defense shut out this team. I mean, I guess everybody, and me included, thought, this is going to be pretty much a walkover. Could you hang, as old Spurrier used to say, half 100 on, which is really not much anymore in today's football. Yeah, maybe that would have made everybody happy. But listen, this is a vanilla offense. All you're doing basically is a glorified scrimmage in their mind. Hey, we can win this game. Just a matter of how we're going to win it. It was not a pretty game. You sat around for 2 hours waiting on a lightning delay. That kind of threw off a lot of things. The fans didn't show back up because, weather was still imminent that it was going to be horrible. I know, to answer your question without me going on a long diatribe, no, it's way too early. And frankly, it would be way too early if things turn out really ugly after Saturday. You're playing, well, I got to be real careful here, Dusty, but you're paying guys to come play for you now legally and lots of money. So you can call that whatever you want to call it, college athletic, amateur athletics. I don't call it that anymore. This is a very, very good football team they're about to play Saturday. In 2 weeks, 3 weeks, if you're struggling against the UTEPs, the Arkansas States, the Coastals on down the line, then maybe you can start saying, hey, we're not as good as we thought we were going to be. Right now, I just think, you just worked out some bugs on offense. You're going to be fine. Think about it. You catch a pass here, you catch a pass there. You do score 2 more touchdowns. Ryland Green dropped one. I forgot the one that Landon Graves threw to who, I can't remember the receiver's name. He dropped. That's the easiest touchdown he's going to get all year long. Yeah, that was a bad drop. But think about it. That's 2 more touchdowns, guys. And the missed PATs, frankly, you're missing your number 1 place kicker. He should be back for the UTEP game, I hope. No, please don't start panicking just yet over just winning by 4 touchdowns.
Right. No, I completely agree. I don't think – I think there's a time for a little – you can be concerned. You can be concerned about the drops. I hate that I was right about the receivers, Tibbs, but you can be concerned about that, but you shut them out. And defense did exactly what they – you can't ask for a better game. They had less than 100 yards rushing or right at it or something like that. They really didn't. They had a few efficient starts to drives, but defense bowed their head. They got, you got a fat guy turnover. That's always awesome. You did some things really well in defense. I think what we expect that offense to take that step hasn't happened yet, but that doesn't mean there's not time for that to happen.
Yeah, I'm not one to hit the panic button, honestly, until we're at 7 losses. And then I'm kind of hitting up compliance.
You sound like a ULM fan, don't you?
And then I'm hitting up compliance going, hey, what's the APR just in case we need that? But no, I'm not one to hit the panic button. Maybe it's me just being beat down over 40 years of being a ULM Northeast fan. But it just nothing really gets me. Like if we would have beat St. Francis by 100, I'd probably feel the exact same way that I do right now of, we're going to be okay. It doesn't matter if we beat Alabama or not, quite honestly, because that doesn't help us win a championship of the Sun Belt, which is the ultimate goal that we all want to have.
Right. Yeah. We don't want to, the ULM fan does not care. I mean, Bama win is great. That's awesome. I just want to see us win the Sun Belt. I want to see us, make strides within our conference and then build up from there. But yeah, now I'm not saying, I think you could panic a little earlier than 7 losses, Tibbs. I think that's a little extreme. But right now isn't the time to panic. Like Mike said, you still won by 4 scores, and you shut out a very bad team. And it's college football. At the end of the day, there is a level of, competition you're going to have. And it's not like I kept calling them JV, which is super rude to them. And I'm sure they're going to be fine within their own conference. But they were what our C team would look like. And unfortunately, I feel like you should beat them by 50.
Well, Chase, let me just say this to wrap up St. Francis for my part. I didn't think, and you're right, the defense played lights out. They crossed midfield one time throughout the game, one time. They tried a few plays to the perimeter. They had a little bit of speed. They were able to get a little bit of success, but overall the defense did exactly what the defense should do against that team, and that is just completely throttle them. But I will tell you, I came away not a fan of St. Francis, but I respect the fact that they're playing with limited resources. Because remember, they only get 45 scholarships, and those guys played lights out. They don't even get the 65 that they allow FCS in that conference. So they're only playing with 45. They're going down to Division III, so they lost a lot of players as it may be through their portal, and they still played scrappy and hard and with heart. And you just have to say, hey, I hope they do well the rest of the year. Because, frankly, that's what I want to see ULM do. I want to see ULM do the same thing against Alabama that St. Francis came in. Obviously, I like to see them score and cross midfield, but just to play scrappy and hard. And I texted you guys yesterday, and I said, nobody's scared of that crimson helmet with the white lettering anymore. It just doesn't. Right. You can't just roll that out there and say, oh, we're scared of them, because you can see the chinks in the armor. That being said, I would not pick ULM to win this game. Talent-wise, it's just not equal. You started out saying, oh, we're going to beat those guys. Well, I mean, you hope to. you play to. And as a fan, you certainly want them to try to. But realistically, the level of football is 2 different things. You don't start panicking until you're not moving the ball against UTEP. You're not moving the ball against Arkansas State. And then you go down your schedule, and when you're still having struggles offensively, then you can say, hey, we got problems on offense, guys.
I thought it was weird kind of looking ahead at Alabama. They only have one guy from Louisiana on their team, and he's a special teamer. He's a tight end special teamer from New Iberia. He's not recorded any stats, no significant play time other than running down on kickoffs.
They don't have Nick Saban to bail him out, Dusty, and it's simply – Nick Saban had that recruiting connection with the high school coaches here in Louisiana when he was the coach of LSU. And that was one of their pipelines, was to be able to come in and gather some really good players out of Louisiana. They don't have that anymore. Kalen DeBoer is a really good. I said when they hired him, I thought he was going to do really well. I'm starting to doubt my logic there. I think he's a good coach, but is he a good fit for Alabama? Hammett texted me yesterday and said, if we beat these guys, that might be the end of the DeBoer era. I agree. I think that it would be catastrophic for them. Now, again, I don't even expect this game to be close. Okay. I really don't. I don't care about spread and all that nonsense. I just would like for our guys to go play scrappy, hard. And again, I've said this about 10 times now. You want to see what happens in the fourth quarter. If Alabama lets you hang around, then by God, go win the game. But it's going to be an uphill battle. You know that going in. But if somehow ULM goes in there and pulls off 2007 again, I'm not sure Kalen DeBoer sees a third game.
$69 million buyout. And while that's a lot of money, I mean, there's precedent that good old Jimbo got it from A&M, and Alabama's got probably just as deep of pockets.
No, I don't think they have as deep pockets as A&M. I think it would be a real struggle to come up with $69 million for Alabama. And I think that I've thought about this a little bit, Dusty. You think about where some of this, and maybe Saban was way smarter than anybody ever gave him credit for, and he's a smart guy. But I think he knew that we're going into the era of professional football, and Alabama, while they're Alabama, no longer has an advantage when it comes to this deal because there are teams out there much deeper pockets than Alabama, the University of Alabama, that are buying teams. And I think you'll see Alabama come down in a talent over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, unless they are somehow somebody, there's some manna from heaven. When you have the Michigans of the world, the Ohio States, the LSUs, the
Texas Tech,
Texas, those teams are really deep pocketed. Alabama's got money, but they ain't got A&M money.
That's why I'm definitely in the minority. I don't think Nick Saban was that great of a coach. I think that his ability to coach in this day and age of college football really goes back to his time with the Dolphins, where he was terrible. He didn't know how to manage a roster. He was not a player personnel person like you have to be as a head coach in college football this day and age.
Well, that's why I say I think he knew when he had to get out because it's no longer amateur athletics. It is professional athletics to a great degree when the amount of money that they're talking about paying some of these guys. You're right. You have to manage a roster. And not only that, you may have to manage it year over year. And that's not what had built their program. They had recruited from the high school ranks. Again, we go back to Louisiana where they had great inroads here to where now it's, you recruit some, you get some portals and you build a roster. And it's why do you think that you have, his name's escaping me now, but the Stanford quarterback that was at Indianapolis, but now anyhow, he's back at
Andrew
Stanford.
Luck.
Thank you, Andrew Luck. I couldn't remember his name, but anyhow, he's now the general manager. And how many schools are hiring general managers? Well, tell me, who does that sound like? It sounds like, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Dallas Cowboys, the Miami Dolphins. You have to have somebody who can manage all that and not be able to just go out and just X and O on a blackboard.
I just want to say we will not allow some Nick Saban slander like that, Tibbs. That was way too far. Nick Saban was an excellent coach, okay? That was very poor choice of words by you. He won like 7 or 8 national championships, put like 40 guys in the first round. That was no good, Tibbs.
Because he could somehow or another get them on campus there, and you can figure all that out. When
he had results, but he couldn't do it nowadays. I agree with you guys.
When it became a fact that you could start paying players millions of dollars a year, all I'm saying is, look, Alabama's still very good. I don't want anybody to misconstrue what I'm trying to say here. I just don't think that they're going to be as dominant as they had been in this age of NIL and transfer portal as years before. The teams with some very deep pockets, when you've got Michigan that can go out and just essentially just pay more to a freshman quarterback who played very well yesterday, by the way, that anybody else could pay him, it becomes who's got the deepest pockets with the most resources.
Chase, I will not take it back because I'm sure in true Alabama math fashion, when they win on Saturday against ULM, they'll put up another national title banner.
Well, Auburn might too. I mean, Auburn is now Auburn's claiming the Piggly Wiggly, poll of the week or whatever. So, I mean, it's almost laughable what Alabama and now Auburn does with these. How many national championships does Alabama claim?
I don't know, 50, 100.
I mean, it's ridiculous, Tibbs. I mean, look, whatever. I mean, they're very good. They've got a great history. They've been very good. Again, they've got great resources. We're going into a bee's nest. They're going to be mad. They're going to want to, it's their opening game. It's a night game. There's a lot of things not to like about this game. The best part is we're going to drive home right afterwards, and Chase gets to stay awake and talk to me as I drive because I'm the only one allowed to drive when we leave these games coming home.
So I have a great story for y'all. Speaking of road trips and the radio crew, I was in the press box, of course, for the opener there against St. Francis. The legendary voice, Corey Crow, was at the elevator with President Carrie Castile.
Rough start.
And she was asking him, "Oh, do you play music?"
Oh,
I don't know if I can finish this without cracking up.
Oh God! Did he pull out his harmonica?
He goes, "Yeah, I play some trumpet and I play blues harmonica." And all I could think of was Mike McGee in Southern Miss just screaming and yelling at him.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm excited, Mike. Corey and I, this is the year that Corey and I are really going to practice, and I've really got to get to learn how to bend those notes, and I really haven't been able to do it, but I feel like with you in the front seat and Corey and I in the back seat, we're really going to hammer it out.
That's not happening. You guys will be walking home from Tuscaloosa.
But Mike, if you put on your AD hat, you're the guy hired to replace interim Bryant Vincent. What's kind of the big thing that you're looking to do your first 3 months, 6 months, year on the job?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know if you could just pin it down to one thing. For me, I would want to. We've traveled around the Sun Belt, so you know what your competition does. You know, I understand that there's a big need for nutrition, there's a big need for strength, there's a big need for a lot of things for your athletes. But I think what you have to do is you have to make it aesthetically pleasing for somebody to want to attend your university. I think that from a facility standpoint, a resources standpoint, you've got to really get on par with the rest of the conference. Okay, it's hard to put into words without maybe saying, "Hey, this is what I'm talking about." You know, look at this stadium, or look at this. And not everything's on par. I'll be honest with you. We went to Marshall, and I thought, yeah, we're better than them. There are a lot of things that I think
about parts of Southern Miss too, Mike.
Well, and Southern Miss has put some efforts into it, okay? But frankly, you've got to go out and you've got to get some corporate sponsors that are really going to pump some money and help your athletic budget, your athletic ability to be on par with who you're competing against. ULM, it's probably going to get me in trouble, but I felt like a lot of times they're kind of playing with one arm tied behind their back. The AD job is really, really difficult. Frankly, it's not about scheduling opponents. It's going to have to be about raising money. And that is the one thing you got to do is find some corporate sponsors. And Monroe's a smaller town, but look, there are plenty of opportunities. And here's the thing. I think with the advent of all, and I won't call any names, but with the advent of everything that's going on in the northeastern region of Ouachita Parish, Richland Parish, those are some opportunities now that you got to be on the front end. You've got to be on the cutting edge that says, hey, this university has to partner, must partner, wants to partner, and let's try to get this from a financial aspect that it gives you some sort of ability to compete for the same style. Look, again, I'm kind of cutting myself short here, but BV, what he does with the resources, really, you have to say, last year was kind of ahead of the curve. We're looking for better things this year. If you can give them some help, if you can give the entire athletic regiment some help from a financial standpoint, because most of these coaches are out having to do everything themselves, I think that would be the first thing I would do is try to find financial resources with partners.
I think that I'll draw a larger contribution to this, like a meta contribution. Get that pun. And I think, if you take what John Hartwell focused on when he first got here, obviously, had to shore up football. You feel confident that leader, and then you got to kind of start approaching those other sports enough to where they're competitive. And I think now you're seeing ULM be competitive in softball, in volleyball. You're getting more hopefully competitive in basketball and things like that. So
let's go see if Alabama can kind of stink it up offensively Saturday.
Love to take advantage of that.
Mike, thanks so much for joining us. Looking forward to it. I'll be listening to y'all and watching on the tube, but y'all get a pinch of grass or something there for me.
Gotcha.
We almost got arrested last time we were there, Dusty. They had just sprayed the end zone with that crimson stuff. Chase and I are walking the field, and the lady comes running, screaming at us about, you can't get in the end zone. We're going, yeah, lady, we know it's masked off, it's roped off. We're not going to get on your stupid field. But this time, I think, Chase, where did we try to steal a ball from last year?
From Texas, and we should have done it. And we're going to do it this year.
Let's get one from Alabama this year. Let's steal a damn ball, okay?
Those are the stories that we need, Chase.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We just bring McGee on more.
I had one actually when we played Western Michigan way back in the 90s.
Western Michigan. Never heard of her. I'm just kidding. I have heard of it. What happened?
I have no idea. I was walking back from the game, and I happened to look down and realize I was toting a rock.
Oh, you had a ball? You stole a ball?
Good.
What a terrible place to steal a ball from.
I wish there was more to the story or a better story of I went on their side. I have no idea how I got it. I just was walking back down to fraternity row, and then it kind of clicked of I'm carrying a ball.
Yeah, Mike. Mike and I go play catch before the games. We're gonna steal one from Bama.
We're gonna steal one from Alabama.
Premeditation. I love it on the podcast.